There's a moment that happens somewhere between the office and the front door. It's not dramatic. Nobody would notice it from the outside. But if you've lived it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the shift, the almost imperceptible change that happens in the car, on the train, in the elevator, on the walk up the driveway. The part of you that knew what it was doing all day, that was good at what it was doing all day, quietly steps back. And something else steps forward. Something that feels a lot like bracing. You love these people. You are not confused by that. You work as hard as you do, in part because of them. And still, some nights, the hand on the door handle carries a weight that has nothing to do with how tired you are. It is the weight of walking back into the one place where your competence doesn't seem to be enough. You're listening to Coupled With, the podcast that helps you take the guesswork out of feeling seen, heard, and valued in your relationship. If you've ever felt stuck in the same arguments, struggled to stay connected, or wondered how to better communicate with your partner, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Rachel Orlick, a couples therapist and coach, and together, we're going to make relationships make sense. Let's dive in. Welcome to Coupled With. Today we're talking about what happens when the place you feel most capable becomes the place you hide, and what that costs the people on the other side of the door. Here's what I mean. There is a version of this story that gets told as a work-life balance problem. Too many hours, not enough presence. The solution, in that version anyway, is a better calendar and an earlier commute home. I want to tell you a different version. One that is a little harder to hear, and also a little more true. The version where the long hours aren't just about ambition or obligation. The version where work, the place you're needed, the place you're good, the place where the feedback makes sense, has become the place your nervous system goes to feel safe. And home, somehow in all of this, has become the place you brace against. Let me describe a person you might know. At work, they are extraordinary. Not necessarily in a loud way, maybe not the loudest person in the room at all, but reliable, clear, the one people come to when something is actually broken. They know how to read a situation, how to stay calm when everything else is not. Their competence is visible and it is confirming. Problems come in, solutions go out. There is a legibility to the work that their nervous system finds, on some level, deeply settling. And then they come home. At home, the rules are different. There are no deliverables. Feedback is not measurable. Trying hard does not reliably produce a good outcome. In fact, trying harder sometimes makes it worse. The most important thing being asked of them is not to solve anything or achieve anything or hold anything together. It is simply to be present, to be open, to be available in a way that doesn't come with a clear metric for success. And they don't know how to do that. Or they used to know, and somewhere along the way they forgot. Or they never quite learned it in the first place. And they've been quietly hoping their partner wouldn't notice, or that it would just get better. There is no performance review for being emotionally present, which is genuinely disorienting if performance reviews are how you've always known you were okay. So they do what they know how to do. They provide. They fix the thing in the garage. They handle the thing with the accountant. They work late because the project is real and the family needs the income, and both of those things are true. And they tell themselves, genuinely tell themselves, that this is love, that this is what love looks like when you are the kind of person that you are. And across the room, their partner is watching them light up on a call that runs past dinner, watching them solve in 30 seconds the kind of problem that would have taken anyone else an hour, watching them be, for everyone else, the person who shows up fully, and sitting with a question they may never have said out loud. Why does everyone else get the best of you? That question is not an accusation. Underneath it is not entitlement or unreasonable expectation. Underneath it is grief. The grief of loving someone who is extraordinarily present everywhere except here. Here's what I want to say to the person who recognized themselves in that description. The work is not the problem. Working hard is not a character flaw. Providing for the person you love is not avoidance dressed up as virtue, or not entirely. The care is real. The intention is real. I am not going to tell you that you need to work less, because that is not actually the thing. The thing is this. Work is the place your nervous system learned it was safe. For most high-functioning people, the equation got built early. Do well, be valued. Achieve, be loved. Produce, be safe. It wasn't usually a conscious lesson. It was absorbed from a parent whose attention followed performance, from a family system where competence was the currency of belonging, from a childhood where having needs was complicated, but being useful was always welcome. Work, decades later, is still running that equation. It has a better salary and a nicer office, but the nervous system underneath is still doing the same calculation it learned when you were 8 years old. If I do this well enough, I will be okay. But at home, where there's real intimacy, real vulnerability, the unscripted and unmeasurable territory of a close relationship runs on a different equation, one the nervous system didn't get the same training for. Closeness here doesn't come with clear feedback. Love is not contingent on performance, which sounds like a relief until you realize that a nervous system trained on performance doesn't know what to do with unconditional. It keeps waiting for the metric. It keeps trying to find the thing to fix. And when the fixing doesn't work, when presence is what's needed and presence is exactly the hardest, the system does what it was trained to do. It goes where it knows how to succeed. It goes to work. This is not a character flaw. It is a nervous system doing exactly what it learned how to do. Here's the cycle as it actually runs. The withdrawer comes home slightly activated, the bracing we named at the top of this episode, the low-grade hum of not quite knowing how to get this right. Their partner, who has been waiting, moves toward them. Not always with a big ask, sometimes with something small, a question about the day, a hand on the arm, the simple animal need to make contact with the person they chose. But the withdrawer's nervous system, which reads closeness as a demand it may not be able to meet, steps back. Not consciously, not unkindly, just back. The partner reads that step back as distance, as rejection maybe, as confirmation of the fear they've been quietly carrying. I am not the priority. I am not enough to bring them home. And so they either reach harder, more urgency, more need, more visible hurt, or they begin to shut down themselves to protect against the reaching that keeps not landing. The withdrawer, meanwhile, experiences that pursuit as pressure, as evidence that they are already failing the moment they walk in the door. It is already not enough. And so the thing that has always worked, they find something useful to do. They answer the email, they fix the thing, they provide, because providing is the one love language their nervous system knows how to speak fluently. And right now, they need to speak something they're good at. And the loop tightens. Here is what I want both people in this cycle to hear. The withdrawer is not different. They are exhausted by a very specific kind of failing, the kind that happens in the place that matters most, in front of the person whose opinion of them matters most. The silence is not absence of love. It is a nervous system that has run out of the particular resource that intimacy requires and doesn't yet know how to say that. The pursuer is not asking for much. The reaching is not the problem. An attachment system doing its job reaches for the person it chose. That is not neediness. That is the thing working correctly. Both of them feel like they are failing. Neither of them know the other one feels that way. That is not a small thing. That shared, unspoken exhaustion is where a lot of distance quietly grows. The person who feels most competent in the world and most lost at home is not failing at love. They are loving from the only place they've ever known how to be safe. And that place has walls. And if you happen to live in the state of Washington, I currently have 1 to 2 openings in my private practice for new therapy clients. If you've been wanting support to break old patterns and build more secure, connected relationships, you can learn more or inquire at www.meaningfuljourneycounseling.com. And don't worry, I'll leave it in my show notes. So we've just named the loop. And more importantly, we've named what's underneath it. Not indifference, not inadequacy, a nervous system that found safety and competence a long time ago and hasn't yet found it in closeness. That matters because what becomes possible looks entirely different from that angle. And I want to be honest about something. The solution to this is not working less. It is not trying harder at home in the same way you try hard at work, because that just brings the performance energy into a space that needs something else entirely. You cannot achieve your way into intimacy. Believe me, a lot of people have tried. The difference between where you are and where you could be is not effort. It is direction. It is turning, even slightly, toward the thing that the nervous system has been bracing against. Not because it's easy, but because the cost of not turning is something you already know. You've been paying that cost. For the withdrawer, the contrast is between a life organized around the place your nervous system feels safe, aka work, and a life that is slowly, carefully expanding what safe can mean. That is not a weekend project. It is not a conversation you have once. It is the slow work of letting someone close enough to learn that closeness is survivable. For the pursuer, the contrast is between the story that your partner's distance means something about your worth and the truth that it means something about their history. Both of those interpretations lead somewhere. One leads to pursuing harder or shutting down, and the other leads to a different kind of reach. Quieter, more specific, less about closing the distance by force, and more about making the door easier to walk through. For the withdrawer, let's work on a transition practice. The shift, if there is one, happens before you walk in the door. In the last few minutes of your commute, in the car, the train, the walk from wherever you parked, try this. Ask yourself one question. Not what you're walking into, not what needs to happen tonight, not whether you have energy for it, just this. What did I need today that I didn't get? Maybe it's small, quiet, a meal that wasn't eaten at a desk, someone to notice that the thing you handled today was actually hard, permission to not be the one holding it together for 5 minutes. Whatever it is, name it to yourself in the car before you put it away. Because the person who walks in knowing what they needed is a slightly different person than the one who walks in already bracing for impact. They are not suddenly open. They are not transformed, but they have done one thing that matters. They have turned their attention toward their own interior for 60 seconds instead of away from it. And that, quietly over time, is how that armor starts to slowly break down. For the pursuer, the reach is different. Instead of the question that carries the weight of everything that's been missing, why do you always disappear when you get home? Why does work always come first? Why does everyone else get more of you than I do? Try a different question, one that gives them something they already know how to answer. What was the hardest part of your day? Not because their answer will fix the distance, not because talking about work is the same as being close, but because that question opens a door through a frame they already know. It gives the withdrawers something concrete to be competent about, describing a problem, naming what was hard, being seen in the part of their life where they feel most themselves. And sometimes that is what the first few minutes of genuine contact has to look like. not full vulnerability, not immediate emotional availability, just a door that's cracked open and the choice to walk through it together. Long-standing patterns don't shift from a single question, but a question can still be where it starts. There is something quietly painful about being the person who is exceptional at what they do and still feels like a failure at the thing that matters most. Who has given everything to the people they love, financially, logistically, in every way they know how, and still comes home to the feeling that it's not the right thing, that they are standing in the room and somehow still not there. That person is not broken. They are not unfeeling. They built something real, a career, a life, a way of being in the world that works for them. And they built it out of the materials they had. The competence is genuine. The love is genuine. The walls are genuine too. And the person who has been reaching across that distance, who has wondered more than once whether they're asking for too much, whether they're the problem, whether the person they chose is even capable of being the closeness they need, they are not wrong for wanting it. The reaching is not the issue. The question is just whether the reach can change shape, whether it can be an invitation instead of an indictment, whether there is a version of come closer that the other person's nervous system can actually hear. Neither of these people is the villain of this story. Both of them are exhausted by it. Both of them love each other in ways the other one can't always see. The question isn't whether you love each other. The question is whether the place you've learned to be safe has enough room for the other person to actually reach you there. If you want the guided version of this work, my private audio series is linked in the show notes. You can start anytime. That's it for today's episode of Coupled With. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to hit subscribe so you never miss what's next. And if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review. It really helps more than you know. And if you're curious about how we might work together or want more resources to strengthen your relationship, head over to my website, www.drrachelorlick.com. You'll find free tools, podcast extras, and ways to go deeper. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.